Hey there, Stampers. Happy Friday. Welcome to this week's live. My name is Sherry Roth. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator from Alberta, Canada, and I'm so excited about today's live. I've got so much to share with you. So today's topic, we are going to talk a little bit about some of these fabulous Scenic papers that Stampin' Up carries. Now, we've carried different versions of these over the years. And I remember when they first came out, I would avoid them because they scared me. I just had no idea how to use them to create cards. I mean, yes, they're beautiful, but I could not wrap my head around how to use them. But now that we've carried them in several different patterns over the years, they are some of my favorite pattern papers. I can make quick and easy cards from these pattern papers. And it looks like so much time went into them. So first of all, let's talk about the two different patterns of papers that I'm going to share today. That doesn't mean that's all we have. Well, actually, I think that might be all that's current. There is a fall one that is in the September to December mini catalog. However, it's sold out. And I don't think, off the top of my head, I don't think there is one in the annual catalog. So anyways, these papers are unique because they've got this beautiful scenery, like patterns on the front. And then the backs are usually something that is pretty generic that you can use, that can be used for so many different things, which I absolutely love because sometimes you need patterns like that. All right, so this is the one horse open sleigh. So I'll do a quick flip through. I think I'm missing one pattern because I don't have much of this one left. I've used a ton of this one. But I'll do a quick flip through so you can see they're absolutely stunning. So pretty, so wintry scenes. However, I used the back of this pattern paper for a New York layout earlier this week. So it really can be used for anything. And then here, the backgrounds. I mean, look at this one. You can't go wrong with a wood grain, especially a light wood grain. And this one, I could use an entire package of this paper in 12 by 12. I love this pattern. The combination of grays and browns, and it's just muted. It's just so stunning. All right. So that is the one horse open sleigh. So I'm going to share some samples with that. And then this is our newest one that is like this. This is called the Meandering Meadows. It is part of the garden. No, the Meandering Meadows is the name of the DSP. It's the name of the suite, but there is a stamp set or a bundle that coordinates with it or that works well with it. And it's called the Garden Meadow Bundle. So I'm kind of showing you the back side and then the front side. These might not be, oh yeah, they are, okay. So back side, front side. So here you can see that these are almost like, the back side is almost like a brush stroke. And this kind of has like almost an impressionistic kind of feel to it. We've got this one. There are a couple where the back sides are like more florally than brush strokes. Let's move this a little closer. So many different patterns. It's just absolutely stunning. And all right, we're almost done. So you can see absolutely beautiful patterned papers. So today I'm going to share 4 different ways, and there's actually, I have a ton of samples to share with you. So 4 different ways to use this style of patterned paper. And then you'll want to stop by my blog next Wednesday because I will share a couple fun folds where they work really well with this style of patterned paper. Now, just keep in mind that all of the ideas that I share doesn't mean that you have to have this type of pattern paper to use these ideas. You can use them with any pattern papers. But I'll kind of share some ideas on why I chose these designs for this type of pattern paper along the way as well, just so it gives you an idea of where my thought process came from. Okay, so first of all, we can just keep it simple. So just add a large layer of the pretty paper to the front of your card. And I always like to have, not always, but I do like to have an extra mat in here. You'll be able to find all the measurements for these cards over on my blog. So I'm not going to give you the specific measurements here, but I will link to that blog post once it goes live in the description. Okay, so here, because this paper is so stunning, you don't need to do a lot with it. So all I did was I stamped a little hello there up at the top, added a little bit of ribbon and some twine, and it's done. Like, it really doesn't need that much. And you don't want to cover over a ton of it because it's just so pretty. Like that house all lit up there, it's so pretty. You don't want to cover it over, right? So that is a simple way to use these types of pattern papers. Okay, now this hello there came from an upcoming stamp set. Let me just find it here. Okay, this is going to be a celebration offering. It's called Softly Sophisticated. I believe it's a stamp set and embossing folder bundle. Which I love the fonts in here and the ingredients in here. This is a really beautiful set, and the embossing folder is really nice as well. So I just stamped hello there because I needed some thank you cards. I've had some wonderful gifts given to me already, and I just wanted to send out some kind of like still holiday feel thank you cards. So I thought that this was a great kind of holiday feel, but I could turn it into a thank you card instead of a Christmas card. Okay, so that is card number 1. So going with that same idea, here is another version. So I kept a larger piece of the patterned paper. I added a layer of melon mambo underneath. So this is the Meandering Meadows. And then I used a larger greeting just because I did a square card. So this is a 5 1/4 by 5 1/4 inch card. And I used a greeting from this Softly Said stamp set. Now this stamp set, as well as this DSP, actually both of these DSPs are part of the online exclusives Stampin' Up section of the website. So you won't find them in any of the catalogs, but you will find them online. Now, I tried this greeting just on the back, like just without anything behind it. And I felt like it got a little bit lost because it is a busier pattern paper. So this pattern kind of continues all the way across. So I felt like something needed to ground it underneath. So I used my deckled circles. I think this might be the 5th or the 6th smallest one. I just cut it from some vellum so you can still see hints of that pattern paper from underneath. And then of course I added some twine, and then I added some of these fun little birds that are from the Dragonflies and Birds embellishments that are also part of this Meandering Meadows suite. Okay, so those are the first 2 samples, and the idea behind those samples are just to keep it simple and just simply add a greeting, right? And then of course I have a hard time creating a card without adding some sort of ribbon or trim, and then a little bit of embellishments as well. Okay, so that's card number 1. Don't worry, I will be stamping. I'm not just gonna flip through a bunch of cards today. Okay, so this next one I'm gonna create, and then I will share an additional sample using it. So this kind of goes along the same idea of keeping a piece a little bit larger and then working with that piece. So I want to add a little bit more dimension, a little bit more interest. So I want to step it up a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I've got my card base, I've got an inside layer, a layer for my greeting, and I've picked this pattern paper. And we're going to cut it down to, oh, I forgot my little notebook with all my measurements here. Okay, so we're going to cut it down to 4 by 5 1/4. So what you want to do is you want to figure out, okay, what do I like best about this pattern paper? So I'm going to cut the 4-inch mark first. So do I want to cut off this side or do I want to cut off this side? And I think I want to cut off this side. I want to keep the bulk of these trees. So I'm just going to rotate it around and cut it at 4 inches. And you can cut a little bit from both sides too. There's no reason why you can't do that. Okay, and then I want to decide, all right, I need it to be 5 1/4. Do I want to cut it off of the sky so that it would look like that? Or do I want to rotate it around and cut it off the ground? And I think I want to cut it off the sky. So I'm going to line it up with the 5 1/4 inch mark and then cut. Okay. Now we're going to bring in our deckled rectangle dies. And I'm going to use the second largest die and the fourth largest die. So these two dies. Okay, I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And we're going to line this up on here. Let's make sure it's in camera here. And because this is a scenery picture, we're going to use all 3 pieces that we end up with. I want to make sure that I have these as straight as possible and so that I have nice even borders. Okay, so I feel like that looks pretty good. I've just got a piece of Post-it tape here. I'm just going to carefully position that over top to hold it in place. Put my mat in or on and then feed this through. Okay, so grab that, move this out of the way. We'll peel that off. And so now we've got 3 pieces. Let's put these back on here so we don't lose them. I'm going to bring in my card base and just fold it in half. So this is just a standard size card base. And I'm going to take the largest frame and I'm going to put that on flat. So I'm going to use some multi-purpose glue. And then we'll flip it around and I'm going to center it. So I should have about an 1/8 of an inch border. So I'm just going to start at the bottom, line it up so that I have about an 1/8 of an inch. And then when I put down the rest, it should be pretty even. All right, so that one is on flat. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the next layer, I'm going to flip it over, and this time I'm going to use our dimensionals, and I think I'm going to use mini dimensionals because this is a little on the thinner side. Actually, you know what? Let's use around the edges. So we'll just cut some of these. Oh, that just fits. Hopefully you don't see that from behind. Now, if this would be a good one to use our black dimensionals for, because they're darker, it wouldn't be as noticeable from underneath. Oh, some of these are, this might be a little bit too thin for this. This should fit down here. Okay, and then I'm gonna use just some of these to go fill in the rest of this. Okay, we'll peel off the backing. And then we're going to line this up so that it fits perfectly back into the spot where it initially started. So I'm just going to line this up with the pattern that's here. And then line that up. So the first layer is flat, the second layer is popped up. Now this third layer, what I'm going to use for this is some of our foam adhesive strips. And you're probably thinking, well, Sherry, why don't you just use dimensionals? Well, because I wanted to stick up a little bit higher. And our foam adhesive strips are a little bit thicker than our dimensionals. So this is going to allow it to stick up just a little bit higher. So it's going to give the look of kind of a telescoping card, or it's kind of like that. So it's going to start flat around the outside and then gradually get a little bit taller as the pieces get smaller. You can actually also stack your dimensionals as well. So you could put double layers of dimensionals on there if you wanted. Let's just cut this in half and we'll pop that on there. All right, we'll peel the backing off, and then we're just going to repeat that second step that we did and just line this up, just kind of like the pieces of a puzzle. So rotate this around and fit this right in here like that. So now you can see just by creating those layers, so can you see those layers there? Just by creating those layers, it adds a little bit more visual interest and just steps up the card a little bit. But of course we need to add a greeting. So I'm gonna use, I need some cards for my team. So I'm gonna use this Celebrate and grab my white cardstock that is in here. And I forgot to grab ink. I'm gonna use, let's use Garden Green. Okay, so we'll use Garden Green ink and we'll just stamp the word Celebrate on here. I'm gonna leave a little bit of space on the left-hand side. And then we'll trim this down a little bit so that it's thinner. Okay, so I'm gonna leave a little space on the right as well. And then we'll trim it so it's a little thinner. Okay, and then I'm gonna angle cut this just like that. And we're gonna pop this on here. So I'm gonna put a little mini dimensional right here. That should line it up so that it's pretty close to the same height. Oh, let's put some regular adhesive on here as well. And actually, I'm gonna put it on so that the edge of the white lines up with the edge of that first layer of patterned paper. Like that. And then we need to add some ribbon. So I'm gonna use this, I don't know, I love this ribbon. I have used so much of this gold and silver 1/8 inch trim from the online exclusive section of our website. I think it's just because it's a really narrow ribbon. It's really easy to use. So I'm just gonna fold a little bit of the gold in half, trim it, and then we'll use a mini glue dot. Fold it back over and grab our mini glue dot. I like to pick it up with a paper piercing tool. And we'll put that right on there like that. And then, of course, I like to finish it off with a little bit of twine. So right before I was going live, actually at like 11:28, and I was going live at 11:30, the doorbell rang and my pre-order was delivered. So it's sitting in a box. The box is really damaged. So I'm really hoping that it's in good shape and nothing is damaged. But I might do a little unboxing video this afternoon. So there might be two lives today. All right, so I'm just gonna use a mini glue dot here and pop that twine on there. And then we're gonna finish it off with some of these dragonflies and birds. And we're gonna use these adorable little dragonflies. And I love these because they are so flat. They do not add any bulk whatsoever. So we're just gonna add a couple of these on here. And look how pretty that looks. So pretty. So then here is another one where I did the same technique, except I used the One Horse Open Sleigh patterned paper, and I used the adhesive backed snowflakes that are part of that One Horse Open Sleigh suite. Oh, we forgot to add our inside layer. Let's do this. And I've got these two scraps, so I can use this scrap across the inside if I want. But because my card base is green, I'm going to use this piece, except I'm going to trim it so it's a little thinner. So I'll trim it so that it's about 1.5 inches. And then we'll just add some glue, and then we can pop that on the inside. So this is, I'm calling this a telescoping card, whether that's really what it's called. I'm pretty sure it is. It is a really, really fun card and a great way to use this pattern paper. It doesn't take anything away from the paper. Actually, it even just steps it up a notch and makes it look even better. All right, let's add this to the inside. All right, and then that is card number 2. So that's the second way that you can use that pattern, that beautiful patterned paper. I have another version of that here that I wanted to share. So this is similar in idea, or it's a similar idea, except instead of using the 2 different sizes of deckled rectangles, she just cut, this was a swap that I received, she just cut a deckled rectangle from the center of this pattern paper and then used just a regular rectangle to mat it. And it really pops it. So you could mat each one of these layers and it would really pop these layers and make them stand out a little bit more. So that's definitely something that, that you could do to distinguish those layers a little bit more. But I really didn't want to take away from the patterned paper. So I chose not to mat them. Okay, so that is technique number 2, or well, I guess it's not really, it's idea number 2. And then idea number 3, this is another great one. And these are all just simple ideas. Okay, so I've got my card base. This time I'm going to use Night of Navy as my card base. And I've chosen this patterned paper. And we're going to bring in our paper trimmer. Let me just get rid of this garbage here. Okay, I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer and I am going to trim this down to 3 3/4. So again, I want to have a look. Okay, what do I want to keep? So 3 3/4 is here. I really want to keep the path. So if I cut off this side, I'm going to lose the path. So 3 3/4 would be right about there. I'm keeping most of the path, so I'm good with that. So I'm just going to flip it over upside down, line it up with 3 3/4 and trim. Okay, now I want to decide, I think I'm going to work from the top again, just because I don't want to cut my tree off. I want to keep a little bit of sky. We're going to end up using about 5 inches of it. It's not quite 5 inches. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start where I wanna keep it. So if you don't mind losing a little bit off the bottom, then start at the top. If you don't mind losing a little bit off the top, then start at the bottom. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, and we're gonna cut 1 1/8 inch strips. So got 1 1/8. So that's one of them. Another 1 1/8 inch strip. That's 2. And a third one. And then a fourth one. Okay, so we're not going to use this piece. We're going to set it aside. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in, and my layer is a piece of Melon Mambo. I never use Melon Mambo. Actually, I think I forgot a layer. I did. I need another piece of navy. So let me just grab a scrap of navy. Okay, so this isn't going to go right onto the Melon Mambo. I need it to go onto the navy first and then onto the Melon Mambo. So I'm gonna cut a piece of navy that measures 5 1/8 by 3 7/8. Okay, so these strips are going to get mounted onto here, and we're going to start at the top and work our way down. So the top, and we'll have about a 1/16 of an inch border. Let me put this on top of maybe this white piece so that you can see it. And then we're going to go to the next piece. We're going to leave a little bit of a space in between. So this is another way that you can use this beautiful pattern paper and not lose the seam. So you've cut it up, but it just gives it a little bit of interest by adding just that little bit of a border around the edges. Now this one you're thinking, oh, well, like you cut that wrong, Sherry. No, I didn't. This one is going to go on the bottom so that we have that 1/16 of an inch border around the edges. And this gap, don't worry about this gap. We're gonna cover it over. Okay, so now we're gonna add this to our layer of Melon Mambo. And just a reminder, you'll be able to find all of these measurements over in today's blog post, which once the post goes live, I will add a link. All right. Oh, Amy says that the video keeps freezing. I wonder if it's because my husband is on a call at the same time. I'm hoping that it will be okay. All right. So now I'm going to add this to my card base, which is a piece of navy. Okay, and I'm going to bring in, I've got a strip of white that I'm going to stamp my greeting on, and this time I'm going to use navy ink. I'm still going to use that same Celebrate word. I just need to clean this. All right. And now I want to have a look. This is going to go across like this. What I want to do is I want to have a look and figure out, okay, is there a part of this that I don't want to cover up too much? Because I'm going to add a little bit of ribbon. It's not going to add a whole lot, I think. I'm trying to think, do I want my grading over here? Then it's going to be quite heavy this way. So I just want to think this through. I have a little bit more space than on the other card, I think. I think I'm going to do it this way. Okay, so I'm going to stamp it a little bit closer to the left. Oh no, I got the edges around. Okay, let's clean this and try this again. Okay. There we go, that's better. Okay, so this we're gonna pop up using some dimensionals. And that's gonna go straight across here. Like that. And then I just grabbed this navy, I think it's called the navy bordered ribbon. It's just a little scrap that I had in my scrap ribbon bin. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of seal adhesive on here, and we're gonna plop that on there. And then I'll add a mini glue dot. Oh, okay, let's add a mini glue dot in here. Hold it closed. And then I'm going to fold my mini glue dot in half. And I'm going to take some twine, but this time I'm going to fold the twine in half to make it a little thicker and tie a bow. And I'm going to retie that. It's a little twisted. So I'll just untie it. Now I've got two pieces of ribbon, and I'm just running my hands over them just to kind of straighten them out a little bit. And then we'll pop that right on there like that. And we will add our little, this time we're going to add some birds. There we go. And our inside layer. So now I usually look at what I have left. So I think this was the base of the, and nobody's going to know what that is on the inside. Or there is this piece that we can add, and I think I will do that. But again, I'll trim it a little bit narrower. I mean, I'm not a wordy person, so even having this big of a piece on the inside is fine, but we'll trim it. Actually, I'm going to do it this way. We'll trim it so it's 1.5 inches wide. And then add some glue. And then just trim off the excess. And pop that on the inside. So then this strip method is another great way to use these pattern, these beautiful Scenic pattern papers. But again, just like I said at the beginning of the video, you don't need to have these Scenic style pattern papers to use any of these ideas. You can definitely use them with any pattern paper. So here is one done with the one horse open sleigh. So I switched out the ribbon. I used some of our copper ribbon, and then this was just some fibers that I had for my scrap bin, and then some of the copper snowflakes from the adhesive backed snowflake assortment, and then Celebrate done with Misty Moonlight. So pretty, love it. So that is the strip method. Okay, and then I've got one more to share with you, and this time we're going to use the one horse open sleigh pattern paper. So I've chosen this pattern paper, and the two colors that I'm going to use are Misty Moonlight and Night of Navy. So I've got a few things done. So this particular die is from this Garden Meadow bundle. So this die, I absolutely love this die. I wish that they sold this separately because I would use this all the time. It is a really nice die. So it die cuts, and then it also adds these details you can see in here. And then it also adds those details on the inside shape. And I don't want to show you the inside shape because I did something else to it that I want to share a little bit later on. So I altered it a little bit, and I want to share that as a little trick in another post, and I don't want to spoil it. So I went ahead and I die cut that shape from the center of my Misty Moonlight cardstock, and then I used the exposed brick embossing folder. So this fabulous embossing folder, and I embossed it. And you do want to cut before you emboss so that you don't flatten your embossed pattern. And then I also die cut one of these little sprigs or trees from the horse and sleigh dies. Okay, so I've used lots of different product here. And I have seen a ton of cards created using the Meandering Meadows DSP with, of course, this die shape. And I thought, oh, well, you can use it with any of these Scenic patterns. You can use it. So I thought I would share a sample of that. So switch it up a little bit. Okay, so now I want to figure out what part of the pattern paper I want. So I think I want that in behind. So I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer, and I want it to be about, I think it was 3 3/4. Oh, I don't have it written down, but I'm pretty sure 3 3/4 by 5 should be good. So I'm going to cut my 5-inch length first. And then I'm going to rotate it around, and I need about 3 3/4, and I want this showing. So I'm going to cut it about here, and then I can cut it at 3 3/4. Actually, let's just make sure. I don't want to cut off my fence. Yeah, that'll be good. Okay, 3 3/4. All right, so we've got lots of pieces to choose from the inside of our card. Okay, so now this is going to go on here like this, and we're going to use some dimensionals. So I'm just going to pop some dimensionals on the back. So this card was inspired by a card that I received from my friend Lorna, which I'll share with you in a moment, using the Meandering Meadows. I loved it. Okay, so I'm just peeling off the backing, and I know this piece is going to be bigger than this piece, but that's okay. So I'll position it where I want it. Let's make sure it's straight. And we'll pop that down on there. So now it looks like you're looking out of a window. So pretty. Okay, then we're gonna pop that onto our card base, which is a piece of navy. We'll add a little bit of glue to this layer. We still have some dimensionals that are there that will hold the, we'll pop up the blue layer. All right, so we've got that. And then we're gonna bring in our white strip, and I'm gonna use Native Navy again. I'm gonna stamp the Celebrate. Still working on some cards for a few team members. And I'm gonna do this right about here. And this is gonna go down here. And we're gonna have this on here. We can pop this piece out. So these pattern papers really make for quick and easy cards. You do not need to spend a lot of time or put in a lot of effort to make beautiful cards using these patterned papers, these Scenic pattern papers, which those are always my favorite types of cards, are ones that don't require a lot of time or effort, but look like I put in a lot of time and effort. Okay. All right, so here I'm gonna add 2 dimensionals. I wanna pop it up so that it's a little taller. And then here we can add just a little bit of flat adhesive, and here we'll add a little bit of flat adhesive. So I'm gonna line this white up with the edge of my Misty Moonlight. And then this piece is gonna go on here like this, so it kind of mimics that tree that's on there. Like that. And then I had pulled this out. This was in my scrap ribbon bin, but I think it's just a little bit too big, so I don't think I'm going to use this. This was just a bunch of leftover fibers from a piece of ribbon that I had pulled apart, but I feel like it's a little bit too heavy for this, so I think I'm going to go with just a simple baker's twine bow. Trim this, and then just put a little dot of this glue on here. And then we're going to finish this one off with some of our snowflakes. And I think I'm going to use 2. I'll use the medium-sized. Let's see, I'm trying to figure out where to put it here. Okay, let's do it there, and then a small one. And then let's see what we've got left for the inside. I'm thinking this will be perfect. We'll add that on there, use up one of those little scraps. And then pop that on the inside of the card. So we created almost like a little window that you're looking through at that beautiful winter scene. But your window doesn't have to be this shape. Your window could be any shape. You could do it using our Countryside Corners dies. You could use it using rectangular shaped dies, circle dies. You could even do heart shaped. I think that would look really cute. Hexagons. So there's lots of different shaped windows that you can create and put your scenes in behind. So there is the One Horse Open Sleigh, and then there is the winter, or the Meandering Meadows. So this is the one that my friend Lorna made for me. Isn't it beautiful? So same card, just switched up the supplies, and it gives you a completely different look. All right. Okay, so if you enjoyed these cards and would like to play a little bit more with this Meandering Meadows DSP, I would encourage you to check out the current class to go, because Laura and I have planned an entire class around the Garden Meadows bundle. So this bundle, and where are the dies? This bundle here, and the Meandering Meadows DSP, so this beautiful DSP. I'm going to share three of the 6 cards that we're making in class, and then I'll pull back all of the cards that I created today for you. All right, so we got this one. There are 2 fun folds in this month's card class, this one and this one. So there's some additional ways that you can use that beautiful pattern paper. Okay, so now let's take a look at what we created today, or what I shared today. So we've got this guy and this guy. So remember, keeping it simple, just keeping that pattern paper as it is, so pretty. And then the telescoping card, and then the strips. And then of course we've got our window card. So 4 simple ways to really highlight that beautiful scenic pattern paper. All right, so I will include a full supply list in the description below. If you live in Canada and do not yet have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love for you to shop my online store. And as always, if you have any questions or comments, just post them in the link below and I'm happy to answer them. I hope you guys have a fabulous weekend, and we'll see you next week.